Welcome to the Cory Lee Show, where our focus is on building leaders and transforming culture. My name is Cory Lee, and in each episode, I aspire to ignite something on the inside of you that encourages you to grow yourself and to make an impact on the world around you. Welcome to the Cory Lee Show. Hey guys, welcome to the Cory Lee Show. I think we're going to have a great conversation. My guest, he's already up in the clouds for those that are watching on YouTube, but those that are listening, got an actual aviation circumnavigator here with us, Robert DeLaurentiis, and it's really awesome to have him on. And I'm going to share your bio here in just a second, Robert. But first off, just want to say welcome to the Cory Lee Show.
Thanks, Cory. It's great to meet you and great to be on your show.
Yeah, man, this is really good. And y'all, Robert is actually known as the Peace Pilot. He is an aviation circumnavigator, author, speaker, philanthropist, and Navy Gulf War veteran. The man has flown all over the 7 continents, both poles, across 53 countries, carrying experiments for NASA and Scripps Institution of Oceanography, while championing the global peace movement in a plane called the Citizen of the World for the World. And I just saw on your LinkedIn bio, Robert, that there's a movie about your life and some things that you're doing, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, that movie called Peace Pilot really brings together a lot of things. It talks about the polar circumnavigation. It talks about the different people that I met with, from the North Pole to the South Pole, and the similarities. Lots of great science, and man, it'll just scare you to death too. There's lots of pretty intense moments. When I watch it, I'm like, I think, well, who is that crazy person? Because it certainly couldn't be me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, we're going to get into that in a little bit, because one of the things that you said before we started pressing record is you had 72 days of video, right? And you got it down to an hour and 50 something minutes. So,
Yeah, 72 days of high resolution digital footage. And the cinematographer, we were so blessed to have him, a guy named Jeremy Lazelle, worked for Nat Geo, Discovery, Animal Planet. Very credible, wonderfully talented guy.
yeah, man, that's awesome, Robert. So, I love this question, man. I love hearing people's stories. I love their journeys because one, it's an inspiration to a lot of people, but you can learn so much about a person from their journey. And so I would love to hear your journey. Take us on, like, I shared a little bit about where you're at today, but take us how you got from where you were to where you are.
Okay. Yeah, it was funny because I had some success in business early in life, and I was, happy with it, of course. I don't think it just happens because you're a great guy, There's a reason for the success that you have. And one day I was walking in the park in San Diego in Balboa Park, and I had been doing that for 10 years. It was sort of a walking sort of meditation. And on this one particular day, the sky was bluer than it had ever been, and the grass was greener than it had ever been. And I could see the light reflecting off the water droplets. The birds were chirping, the air was cool, it was clean. And I had this moment, sort of a spontaneous moment, where I went, wow, I've been here for 10 years and I've never had this sort of experience. And maybe I've been missing out. And then the next thought was, maybe I've been missing out, not just walking in the park, but in my business life and my family life, and my, social life. Maybe there was this room for expansion. And I had this success in the business world, and I would buy additional properties. Around the holidays, I would usually buy 2 at a time. And I was no longer getting that charge, that excitement that I used to get. And I thought, well, maybe my journey now is inward, and I can explore my connection with God. I can see what I'm, being called to do. And a lot of these things that you mentioned, Cory, they're all things that I felt like I was supposed to do. Like I was being guided, and I would have like a quiet moment and then think about whatever it was, like the polar circumnavigation. At first, I thought it was too big for me. I couldn't do that. Too difficult compared to the earlier equatorial circumnavigation, too dangerous. But it became like an obsession almost. it would not leave me. So I decided that it was time to, start chipping away at that project, which has been one of many, but certainly worthwhile, for me and for the world.
Wow. So Robert, so you were in business. Now, did you do aviation before that? Were you already doing some aviation, or is like as you started noticing the vivid colors and the things around you, it's like, oh, there is something more here.
Yeah, that was a part of my life that had not developed fully. When I was a little boy, I used to fly the little string control planes, not very well, and then build models, again, not very well, remote control planes. But I never had the time and money together at the same time that you need to pursue your pilot's license. And it wasn't until a moment in time when I was about age 43, which is when I sort of retired formally from, real estate. I had this moment where I was very thankful for what I had, and I made a contract with God, and I said, I've got these three major problems in my life. I have a house that I can't sell. I have vacancies that I can't seem to get rid of. And then I had an apartment building that had caught on fire and everybody got displaced.
Wow.
And I said, if you take care of those three things, then I'll dedicate 2 years of my life to giving back, to lecturing, to writing books, to doing things, that have impact on the world. And it was funny, Cory, because within 2 weeks, I had an all cash offer on the house. My vacancies went to zero, and I had a check from the insurance company. And then, if that wasn't enough, I got a tax refund. My dad had promised to help a little bit with some graduate work I was doing financially. And then a guy who had passed away that I had lent money to, his family paid me back. So there was
Wow.
all these financial windfalls. And I thought, well, now I need to fulfill my side of the bargain. And what back in 2013, which I expected would be 2 years, has continued to today, 2025. So I found that the more I gave back, the more that I got. And you hear that,
Yeah.
but you don't always believe that. And it was unfolding in front of me, good things were happening. And it didn't mean that I wasn't struggling.
Yeah.
It wasn't an easy
Yeah.
ride. You'll see that if you get a chance to, watch the movie or read the books or any of that. But in fact, when I was doing the polar trip, I thought I was getting a global ass kicking because I had crossed the South Pole. I did that early on, and I was so thankful that I was one alive. Two, it had gone well the first time. And I made a joke to the cinematographer, Jeremy. I said, now it's just going to be a global victory lap. And he literally laughed when I said that. He was obviously a little wiser than me. And there was a lot of suffering on this trip. I had fuel tank burst inside the plane. It sprayed jet fuel into my eyes, my chest, my groin, my arms, my legs, and I got chemical burns.
Wow.
I remember when it happened, falling backwards out of the plane, expecting it to catch on fire, and going, well, thank God, I made the South Pole. I fulfilled my promise to all these sponsors, and I was expecting just to burn, quite honestly, and hit the ground, and the fuel was spraying out of the plane. I yelled for water, put it in my eyes to try and clear the fuel out of my eyes. And then it was at that precise moment that everything changed. And I realized that the mission was more important than me. So
Yeah.
I jumped back into the plane, with fuel spraying, cut the fuel line, the drain line to try and direct it out, had some plastic that I grabbed and was deflecting it. Um, and I thought, this mission is more important than me. So yeah, it changed in that moment. That was a powerful moment.
Wow. I want to go back though to, all right, so man, just a windfall of, opportunity, if you will, or clarity of, man, got the offer on the house, cash at that, all the things happening. And then you feel this stirring within you for flying. Like, what was the first step? Like, I don't even know how to ask that of like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Like, what were those first moments like for you in those first steps? And the reason I'm asking that is because I believe there's a lot of people that they've got something stirring within them, very much like what you got right there. And there's like, I don't even know where to begin. And so what was that like for you, that those first steps?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I think that's God nudging you,
Yeah.
quite honestly.
Yeah.
And I wrote my first book called Flying Through Life, and the through is THRU, and I incorporated 18 spiritual practices into my business. And I had been studying, my graduate spiritual psychology class, and I thought, well, we're talking about all these concepts. Why don't I use that and incorporate it into my business and see what happens? And that tripled the size of my business in 2 years. So I guess the point of my story is getting clear on your thoughts. And when I wrote that book, I laid it out point blank, this, do this, do this. And and it was funny, Corey, because I went back this past year and I reread the book, and I felt like I wrote it for me. Like
Wow.
it was a reminder of those core principles, when things were starting to stir in me, and I felt like I was following, the path that had been laid out for me.
Yeah.
Um, and you can call it God, that's what I do. Um, and I was on my mission. I was in the military, so missions are familiar to me.
Yeah.
Um, but I think we all have this plan that's sort of laid out for us in life, and it's always there. It's just, are you listening for
Mm.
it? You know? And like when it's quiet, like in the middle of the night, like I wake up a fair amount. That's when my mind is busy, but I go, I'm thinking about something, and I think that's a sign. Sometimes
Yeah.
your dreams, sometimes what people say. One time in the middle of the night, I would wake up and I'd be journaling, right? Left hand, right hand journaling. And I was getting close to my departure. I was having panic attacks, quite honestly, because I had promised so much to so many people. And the download or the response I felt like I got from God was, I'm sending angels.
Wow.
And it just sort of, in that moment, it was a really emotional moment for me. The next day, I went to this aviation event, and there was a lady in a big white gown with a big cross, and we're talking, the wife of one of my buddies, and she said the word angels. And I'm
Wow.
like, bam. And then there was another guy who was also a cinematographer, and I was struggling with, doing these video recordings that I would post. And he just happened to work for a TV station for a number of years, and he used the word angel. And then there was a third guy, and I was just like, oh my God, the coincidences were amazing. And even on this trip, there were situations where I felt like I was really unbelievably lucky, like
Yeah.
that's not normal. That's real luck. And it would happen once, and I go, oh, I'm lucky. Then it happened a second time, I go, I'm really lucky. And then it would happen a third, a fourth, a fifth time, and I go, well, I need a better explanation because it's not just luck, you
Yeah.
know. To me, it was God, stepping in and helping me out when I needed it.
Wow, man, that's so good and powerful. You've said a couple of things. There are times where I'll be asleep, dead asleep, and then wide awake. And kind of what I do is similar to what you do. There's there's something else going on here. And so I began, for me, I began asking the question, Holy Spirit, what are you saying? Right. And so I'm exactly what you're saying is I'm starting to pay attention of like, okay, something else is on here. I need to be in tune or be aware. And so, man, that's good stuff, man.
Yeah, I
It's
don't think we're just walking around for for fun and games.
yeah,
I think we're here for a reason. And, sometimes it's to have an interaction with a person. Sometimes it's to accomplish something. Sometimes it's just to listen,
yeah,
right? Just like all your listeners are out there, they're listening to it, you're sharing and the people you're bringing on here. There's a reason for it all.
yeah. You said something else I thought was really powerful. Paying attention and listening. we just, me and my wife and our son and a couple other friends, we just did this whole, Robert, we called it a 40-day brainwash fast. All right. So we did no social media, no podcasts, no books or anything. It's just really, really trying to be in tune and cut out the distractions. It is really interesting. You begin to see the distractions that the things that we are distracted by. And I think many times, going along with what you said, it is so easy not to hear because we give too much attention to the distractions. And so, yeah, man, that's good stuff.
Well, you said something I think that's really, really true. A lot of times we're trying to figure something out, right? We're going to put all this energy into figuring out a solution, and you're going to work on it and grind on it. But I think, excuse me, that energy should be put into listening.
Yeah. Wow.
So creating a silent space like you just described, and then I'm going to just listen. And that's where the energy goes, blocking out the distractions.
Yeah.
Then you probably got a very clear answer, right?
It did. Yeah. It's a whole lot easier to listen when you cut out the distractions.
Yeah. And then you feel, loved and supportive too, because you're getting these answers and you're getting clarity and you feel like you're not in it alone,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
Yeah.
Robert, I want to go into that moment where you alluded to it just a little bit ago, where you're flying and then the fuel line
Right.
and all of that. What was going through your mind in the moment? Like, was there a lot of fear? Was there, because I've heard some people when they face some of those things is almost like crystal clear certainty in decision making. And anyway, I was just curious what was going through your mind when some of that stuff was going on.
Yeah. Luckily, I wasn't actually flying when the tank burst.
Oh, gotcha.
Just on the ground in Dakar, Senegal, there was a sandstorm that I just flown through and landed. At the precise instant that it happened, I heard the pop and simultaneously I could feel the fuel hitting my face and covering my body. And the first thought I had was, is this the moment? Like, is this the moment of my death? And and I have obviously thought about that many, many times. There's been many instances, in the air and on the ground where I felt like I came close. And then a split second later, you're still alive and you're like, no, this is not that moment, right? And like I mentioned, I was falling backwards out of the plane, expecting, all this fuel to just catch on fire and blow up. And it still didn't, and I just landed. So there was a lot of hot avionics inside that cockpit, lots of electrical, connections. And still it didn't happen. And then, I felt weightless sort of falling through the air. And when my body hit the ground, it was kind of like a knock, like what do they say, the cosmic 2x4 across the forehead. You're still alive. And then there was just this inspiration that shot through my body, and I was going to do what I could to save the citizen of the world. I mean, that plane, you could frame it and say that plane's trying to kill you, or you could say that plane's keeping you alive. There must be something bigger out there for you to do. And that was the message that's how I read it in that moment. And then I got back in and fought for her, just like she's fought for me so many times. And it's funny, Corey, because the plane I actually had to force land at Phelps Field. It destroyed the plane December 2nd of last year. I walked away again unhurt, but I was able to buy the plane back as salvage, and we're now putting it back together, and we're going to display it at my airport, which is called DeLaurentis International Airport in Oak Harbor. And she'll be on a big stick that we're engineering, a metal, post. And she'll be tilted in the same way that our logo is with the cascades in the background. So the first thing you'll see when you pull into the airport is, that beast of an airplane, uh,
Wow.
truly remarkable plane. So we're taking care of her just the way she's taking care of me. Again, we'll, repay the favor, follow through with our promises.
Yeah. So you've done all this flying, you've gone all over the world. Is there one moment that I know there's probably a lot that's like, man, that was an awesome moment. But is there one like moment that really stands out to you is like, man, this is really it. That was cool.
That's a great question. God, I could answer it in so many different ways. I remember I was flying directly over the South Pole. And there's a station there, and I was talking to a guy on the radio. His name was Cory as well.
Well, look at that.
That's wild. Um, and I'm doing the countdown, right? I said I'm, like um 5 seconds out, four, three, two, one. And I said permission. Before that, I had said permission to overfly. And he responded back, negative Ghost Rider. And I'm like, am I over the South Pole? And did he just quote Top Gun? And I knew that the new Top Gun was coming out. And I thought, he hasn't seen that movie. I haven't seen that movie. We're over the South Pole, right? Or we're at the South Pole. That movie hasn't made it out here. But yet there was this human connection, right? We're joking and we're talking to each other in the most remote part of the planet that there is, right?
Uh,
And we're bonding and having this magical moment. And we both started laughing. And I thought that was beautiful.
yeah.
And, we have some of those moments in the movie, Peace Pilots. So I guess it was just this connection to humanity, right? And here we're doing these crazy things, but we're still human after all. So that was a magical moment. It brought tears to my eyes. And there were times on that trip where I could just feel, the tears rolling down my face.
Mm,
And I was the one of the thoughts over the Drake Passage on the way back was, why does this have to be so hard?
mm,
And the thought I came back with is that I'm being prepared for something. And I thought, my God, what could this be preparing me for? This is so hard. And it wasn't until a year later I was talking to one of my friends, and she said, Robert, you're looking for all these connection points on the trip. And she said, what you experience is all living things suffer.
wow.
And there is some amount, of suffering that happens in all our lives. And if you reflect back on it, there's usually a really powerful lesson that comes from it as well.
Yeah.
And I think to experience the great joy in life, you've got to experience those challenging moments too. It's not nobody is getting all good times. They're riding the roller coaster just like the rest of us. But and the more that I've given back, the more I feel like that I get to enjoy those good times too.
Yeah.
So the question I thought you were going to ask me before is, uh, how do you get more in your life? And it's you give more,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Just
mm.
really simply give, if you're not happy with what you have, well, then maybe you're not giving enough.
Yeah.
And I think it can be that simple.
Yeah. I would 100% agree with you, Robert. And it makes no logical sense, right? Like
Yeah.
logically, it doesn't make any sense, but I 100% agree with you. Yeah. You kind of mentioned this just a second ago. I'd like to press in a little bit more. I like, Robert, I'm into like endurance sports, right? I like marathons and half Ironmans, those kind of things. And the really cool moments is when you cross the finish line and all of that. But man, there are points that it is a grind. It is a grind, and it's just like putting one foot in front of the other when you don't even want to. And you kind of mentioned it in your story. Why is this got to be so hard? And but their strength that comes through pressing through that grind. And I know one of the things you talk about is a little bit of resilience. And so, what can you share with us about resilience? Somebody who may not, fly across the world or even do a marathon or anything, but we all have to have some of that too. Any thoughts on that?
I have a great amount of respect for runners. I did a little bit, not as much as you. My mentor was a runner as well, and um, I think persistence is a key quality for people. And obviously, distance runners are very much that. When you were asking me the question, the word that I jumped ahead a little bit, the word that came into my mind was that persistence is really faith, isn't it? You know, like you have faith that you can finish. You have faith that you've been put on this planet and God is, looking out for you. You have faith in your training. You have faith in the things that you've done to prepare yourself, how you've eaten, how you've trained. So I think these things are just a test of our faith.
Mm.
And I remember when I was coming back from the South Pole, you actually burn more than half your fuel to get there. So it's a tremendous test of faith on the way back because you're like praying for a tailwind and you're praying that you're faster. And the Drake Passage is the most dangerous piece of water in the planet. It's where more ships and stuff have gone down. And it's where I lost my push from behind the tailwind. And then all of a sudden, did I have enough fuel? But I felt like that was one of the greatest tests of my faith, on that trip. And after 18.1 hours in the air nonstop, I landed with about 15 minutes of fuel.
Wow.
So, terrifying moments when you push yourself beyond your limits. I mean, that's what you're doing too, right?
Yeah.
On these runs, you had this perception of could I do it? And I'm sure you're going beyond your limits, right? You're testing those limits. So I think that helps us to grow. And I think each day, it's not a bad idea to maybe nudge ourselves just a little bit. It doesn't have to be, life threatening. It can be just an extra minute. I was on the treadmill last night and oh my God, I got another, minute. Can I make it? And another minute on top of that is probably not going to kill you, right? But it's going to push you a little bit.
Yeah. And that's good. I love that. Well, all right. So Robert, what's your next big thing? What's kind of stirring in you now?
Well, I'm finishing up another project. It is DeLaurentis International Airport. It was a run out, um, messy, dark, dirty place, and we took it and we breathed some new light into it. We've renovated it, widened the runway, fixed everything, and now it's this beautiful place here on Whidbey Island. But we're just wrapping it up, and I leave this week, believe it or not, for a cruise along the Antarctic Peninsula.
Wow.
And I did it from the air, and I want to see what it looks like from the ground. And I'm going with my mentor. So that's going to be the next couple weeks here. But after that, Cory, my slate is open. Excuse me, open. And I guess I'm going to just listen. And
Yeah.
maybe I've earned myself a year off or some time off. But I'm open to the possibilities, and we're poised to do something more. I don't know if it's going to be aviation related or not, but I'll answer when I'm called, I guess.
Yeah. I love it. Robert, I got a question for you. I don't know if you've ever been asked this question, but I think you've got the experience that can help a lot of people out. Whatever you want to answer on this, any advice you want to give, but I'm hearing your story, right? So you had experience in real estate, and you're buying apartments, and you're buying big stuff, right? Like you're doing good stuff. You got an international airport. You got your plane, and you talked about sponsors and all of those things. I think many times what keeps people on the sideline is not only the excuse of being busy, but the financial piece. Um, we've done a lot of real estate, and I think some people want to do real estate, but they don't get into it because it's like, I don't have the money. Any advice that you could help people on to get off the sidelines of uh, I don't even know how to ask this, of like finances? You can get finances, right? Like for any dream, you can get it. Like there are people out there, there are opportunities out there. Any advice for people that are struggling getting off the sidelines because of finances, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. That first book that I wrote, Flying Through Life, talks about stuff like that. Um, and I think it's pretty good. But, if I was to make one or two suggestions, I would first say, um, build your team. Like, do you
Mm,
have a mentor? Like,
wow.
for example, everybody goes through school, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you're a business person and you went through business school. You're going to study the same Harvard case studies that everybody else is going to study. And you're going to learn all these concepts, and they're going to throw you into this big pool and say, compete. Well, I don't think that's a fair fight,
Mm,
right? Because there's other things you can do. And for me, I got a mentor,
wow.
and I had different mentors that were wiser than me, that had more business experience. Maybe they were smarter than me, many of them. Um, my one main one is a lady named Susan Gilbert, and she got me into small business. She got me flying. She helped me on my spiritual path. And I still talk to her every day, and she's helped to guide me. The kings had oracles.
Yeah.
They, relied on prayer and all these other things. So you need something that's going to set you apart in that arena. And the other thing I would say is take chances,
Yeah.
right? Like when I was starting out, Corey, I was using credit cards for down payments and insanity. And at least when I look back, I think that way.
Yeah.
But I had nothing to lose. I
No,
didn't
no.
have any money. I had a few credit cards for down payments, on houses. So anyway, I'd say take some chances. Obviously, if you're a guy with a family and you know, it's slightly different situation, but it doesn't mean you can't take smaller chances.
Yeah.
And some will fail and you'll learn. Other ones will succeed, and then you'll think how smart you are. Um, but yeah, take some chances and be open, to feeling uncomfortable. That's kind of what this flight was a lot about. And there was a lot of uncomfortable moments, scary moments pushing through. So yeah, take some chances and build your team of supporters. And it doesn't have to be just, like a business supporter. I have a mentor of mine that helped me with art and design, and he would, guide me in that area of my life. There was just many different areas. Maybe somebody's a great communicator, right? Maybe somebody is a very compassionate person. So yeah, look for those people and nurture those relationships.
Man, such good advice. The people you're around, and then willing to take risk, and it's good. And there, like you said, there are times that you fail, and it's like, oh my goodness, what did I just do? But the lessons learned from that, and then some turn out and you make you look like a genius. Yeah.
There's a funny episode from Seinfeld, and that guy George,
Oh
he's
yeah. Oh
the
yeah.
most successful person. He gets laid off, and he decides to go back to work the next day anyway. And I'm not saying to do that, but he makes a comment. Jerry asks him, he says, you risk total public humiliation. And George goes, like he doesn't care, you know. So risk, taking those chances, and yeah, you're gonna fail maybe miserably sometimes, but you're gonna learn, like I said, and that's part of life. It's okay.
It is, man. And as you're saying that, I mean, we've made some really, looking back, it's wise decisions. I didn't know in the time, but then as you were talking about making those failures, I remember we were looking at building a three-story mixed-use building, and your dream, it cost you something. You get to a point where it's like, are you going to go all in, or you can decide not to do it? Well, we got to a point where we were going to have to go all in, and for us, it was going to cost us $30,000 to go all in. And at that time, Robert, that's everything we had. That is everything we had, and we said, you know what? I think we're going to go for it. And we went all in, and it failed. It failed. And I do not regret that one bit. One bit. It was embarrassing in the moment and those kind of things, but we haven't lost anything. Like we got all that back, but the knowledge and the wisdom and what you're saying in your story, that willingness to go for it, man, I'm hearing your story, and I hear someone who's a pioneer, someone who's willing to. I mean, you've seen amazing things. You've gotten the opportunity to meet amazing people. That does not come without some kind of risk. And so, yeah,
Yeah, and going, you talk about going deeper in, what about going deeper into your faith as well,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's and the curve is flat initially, and then as you gain all that wisdom, right, at some point it starts angling up, and
yeah,
then you're like that, you're going vertical, right? I think people sort of hope or wish or expect that they're gonna make it, at age 20. I don't think it comes for most people that early. It takes a bit of time to learn all those things. I think at least 10 years in any profession to at least start having, some good success. And that was 10 hard years for me. So I
yeah,
wish everybody else more speed and more luck, but
yeah,
that's, really the minimum, I think.
yeah. Just a couple other questions I have for you there, Robert. You've gotten the opportunity to meet people from all over the world, and what have you learned about people by getting to meet different ethnicities, different people from countries, all that, all that? Yeah, I'd love to hear some of that.
Yeah, I think people are more similar than they're different.
Mm.
Um, they we're all human. That's the oneness, the connection. And I think everybody wants for themselves and their family health, financial security. They want peace. They want, some amount of predictability. They want the joy, safety, right? And it really doesn't matter what color your skin is, what your religion is, where you're located on the planet, how much money you have. None of that differentiates people. And there's basically more similarities. So somewhere else on the planet, there's somebody just like you that wants the same things. And if we can find that as a connection point, people that are suffering, that are challenged, that are working through these problems, that are having, some successes and some failures, people are really very, very similar. And I was impressed with how kind people were to me. My trip was during COVID, so
Yeah.
that was an additional challenge, and how many people came out and supported me in different ways. They weren't pumping fuel into the plane, but they were like a police officer in Sitges, Spain, helped me find a place to live when they were shutting down the hotels to the tourists.
Wow.
Uh, Great person. There was so many supporters along the way, and I think if you start looking for those mentors and those people to help you, you'll find that there's those people that will support you as well.
Yeah, man. Love that, Robert. And man, love what you're doing, just the impact that you're making, the inspiration that you're having on the lives of other people. And so, if somebody wanted to maybe read some of your books or connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
I would say just type in Peace Pilot the movie, and you'll get to a page, and you can see the movie there. And then my different books and audiobooks are all on Amazon, so they're not that hard to find. The most recent one's called Peace Pilot to the Ends of the Earth and Beyond, and that's my perspective on the flight, whereas the movie's from the eyes of the cinematographer. Both great stories, and yeah, then there's a website called Flying Through Life,
Right.
and the through is THRU, so flyingthroughlife.com. And there's hours and hours of stuff that articles and interviews and information. So that would be a good place to start. They can
Uh,
always reach out to me directly too through that.
Awesome. And so the movie is out now on Amazon Prime, correct? Or
And Apple TV
yeah.
and Google TV. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely check that out. And I'm gonna have to go check that out too. I think it's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you so much for your interest, Corey. We really appreciate it. And you're doing great work out there. And I love the questions that you ask. I find that inspiring myself, that there's
Yeah.
people like you pulling, all this knowledge together.
Well, thank you, Robert. I appreciate you. And man, thank you for coming on. Yeah. I love what you're doing. To me, it inspires me because Like you talked about flying, and now you're going to go on the cruise. I was like, man, yeah, let's just go do the thing. I like it. I like it, and I love how you wrapped it up with people as well. I think we a lot of times we tend to huddle with people who are like us, and that's comfortable. But man, there's some amazing people out there, and yeah, love what you're doing. So thank you for coming on, Robert. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us and experience.
All right. Great to meet you as well.
Thank you. Well, hey guys, thank you for listening in to the Cory Lee Show. I know this added value to you. Definitely go check out Robert and the movie Peace Pilot on Amazon, Apple TV, and Google. And so make sure you like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with any of the episodes of the Cory Lee Show. Hope you guys have a great day, and God bless. 3, 2, 1. Thanks for joining me today. I hope I have added value to you. And if you have found value in this episode, let me know. Drop a comment and make sure you share with a friend or family member. See you next episode.